I've always enjoyed taking my late night walks in the woods behind my house. It's a peaceful escape from the stresses of daily life. But one day, my peaceful walk turned into a nightmare. I usually start my walk in the woods around 9 p.m., and this day was no exception. I was tired from all the stress I was under at work, and I just wanted some time to myself. I remember feeling a sense of freedom and relief as I exited my house and made it down the oh-so-familiar path. I started walking. I walked for a good 10 minutes or so, and at this point I was very deep into the woods. However, my sense of freedom and relief faded quickly as I noticed a man around 100 feet in front of me. It was dark out, and from my current position I thought maybe it was just a jogger or something. Although, I quickly dismissed the thought as I realized the idea of a jogger in the woods behind my house at 9 p.m. was highly improbable. The man was now 80 feet away from me, and he suddenly stopped. As he stopped, so did I. I immediately got this weird feeling of butterflies in my stomach and a sharp tingle down my spine. The wind was blowing hard, and goosebumps washed over my arms and legs. The leaves from the trees were blowing everywhere, around the ground and in the air. I tried to make out his face, but I couldn't see it entirely. However, what I did see was a big beard that protruded from his face. I suddenly thought, maybe it's my neighbor Alex. He has a large beard and it looks awfully similar. I called out, "Hey Alex, is that you? What are you doing out so late? I thought you worked early in the morning." For around 3 seconds there was complete silence, but it felt like an eternity. Alex then replied in a deep tone,
Yeah, I'm just looking for my axe. I lost it.
I replied, "What do you need an axe for?"
Firewood.
He said. That's strange, I thought. From what I remember, Alex isn't exactly an outdoors kind of guy. And I don't remember his house ever having a fireplace, or even a chimney for that matter. Alex then takes 5 good steps forward, and then stops, once again. I still can't make out his face, but he is certainly closer than before. I then call out, "Alex, I can give you a hand and look for your axe if you like." He then replied in a deep tone.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I edged closer, and so did he. It then started to rain, and I still remember the feeling of the cold raindrops trickling down my face. For whatever reason, I decided to pull out my phone and check the time. It was 9:44 p.m. As I looked up again, I realized Alex was gone. He vanished completely. I looked left. I looked right. I looked straight ahead. Then, all of a sudden, I hear the loudest and most sinister scream I've ever heard. It's coming from behind me. I turn around, and time feels like it's moving in slow motion. Shivers run throughout my entire body. There's a man with a big black beard, and it's definitely not Alex. He charges at me and tackles me to the ground. I feel a sharp pain echoing throughout my body. "Get the hell off me," I scream. The man starts grunting and yelling.
Stay still, damn it!
At this point, I'm squirming and trying my best to overpower the man, but he now has me in a headlock. I hear him grunting once more. He's squeezing my head so hard I can barely breathe. I'm gasping for air. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. The memories start flashing before my eyes. My friends, my family. No, this isn't how I'm gonna go out. Not like this. I get a sudden urge of adrenaline and a sense of sheer rage and anger like I've never felt before. My muscles tense and tighten, and I start fighting the man back, hitting him in the head with both hands as hard as I can. I hear him let out a loud yell in pain. I keep punching and hitting him with all my might, and then finally, he lets go. I then kick him in the face while still being on the ground and scramble back to my feet. I then started to run. I ran and I ran. I ran so fast I almost passed out. I never once looked behind me. I just ran. I finally made it back to my house and I burst inside, locking the doors. I was breathing so heavily, and I couldn't sit still. I didn't even realize that my shoulder was bleeding. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. I picked up my landline and I dialed 911. Within 5 minutes, the cops turned up, as the nearest station was only 3 blocks away. The cops arrived, followed by an ambulance shortly after, and I explained everything. The man, the incident, the whole ordeal. The 2 officers started searching the woods behind my house. I led them on the path I walked down before, and they searched for about an hour. When they came back, one of the officers came over to me and said they found no trace of the man. I looked over at the other officer, and he said, the only thing we found was this. I simply could not believe what I saw. The officer was holding an axe.
This took place around 15 years ago. I would have been about 13 years old. My dad has always taken an annual fishing trip with friends that would put him out of state for about a week. I have numerous stories about weird things happening while he was gone on said fishing trips, from paranormal events to someone attempting to break into our house. But this is one of the most unnerving to people when I tell it. When my dad would go on these trips, I would usually sleep in my parents' bedroom. My mom and I would treat it like a little sleepover, and we would watch movies, even stay up late on school nights, and gossip. I remember falling asleep after a late night movie and being rose from sleep after what felt like a few minutes. My mom is a light sleeper, while, on the other hand, it takes a catastrophic level event to wake me up from dead sleep. I'm half asleep, and as I open my eyes, I could see my mom on top of the bed, on her knees, peering out of the window above her bed. I started to ask, "What's going on?" when she turned to me quickly and shushed me. I quietly joined her, looking out the small box window that was slightly cracked open, and the distant, rhythmic chanting became more and more clear. Our house sat in front of a strip of woods. The trees aren't too thick, and you could see through most of the wooden area. The chanting was getting louder by the second, and the odd illuminations finally made sense. You could see a line of hooded figures in dark clothing, holding torches, marching east, chanting what sounds like demonic, dark things. It felt so surreal and scary. As we held our breath, waiting to see what they would do. Were they headed towards houses to burn them down? Were they going to attempt to break in and sacrifice us? It felt like ages that we sat there, watching this line of people walk through the woods. Their torches raised high, and their chanting continues through the night. But that was it. They just walked away. After what was probably more like 2 minutes, my mom and I laid down and discussed what we saw. Trying to get back to sleep, we told my dad first thing in the morning when he called to check in, but I remember him not believing us. He thought it had been a dream or something. That kind of thing didn't happen in our small town of Ohio. But on the next day, there was an article in a local newspaper about a lamb being slain on a makeshift altar on the east side of my town. My dad stopped doubting us. My mom and I got even more freaked out. My parents still live in that house, and we haven't seen any other cult-like behavior in that area. But that one evening freaked us out enough that I decided to permanently camp out in my parents' bedroom every time my dad left town into my late high school years.
I was in my late 20s and had a few days off. I decided I wanted to be out in the mountains, camp, fly fish, all that kind of stuff. I tried recruiting a few friends, but everyone was busy, so I decided to go alone. No big deal, I thought. I've been in wild spaces since I was a kid, and I was excited to try out this new part of the Uinta mountain range, a vastly forested mountain wilderness. The first day was uneventful. I caught some fish and drank a little bit too much. But the next evening, things got weird. I had a fire going. Nobody else around. I was gazing at the stars when all of a sudden I noticed a flashlight out of the horizon, and it's approaching me. No big deal, I thought. It's probably just another backpacker. I decided to let it be, but I forgot all about it until I noticed another light from the opposite direction. A late night hiker? I'm not sure. Again, I decided to leave it alone, and I went to bed. Next thing I know, I wake up. I'm in my tent, and I hear people whispering. Devious sounds, like they're plotting to do something. I keep telling myself I'm overreacting, and that this isn't happening. I then hear multiple footsteps around my campsite, and this really heavy breathing. I have this 9-inch buck knife next to my chest, and I was ready to take on these people for messing with me when things got to the next level. All of a sudden, I start hearing laughing that till this day makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The acoustics don't make any sense, as it literally sounded like a guy had a PA system and looped it in an echo. It kept getting louder and louder and was surrounding me. I was extremely terrified. I still am to this day, and trying to avoid anything that sounds inherently similar to those awful sounds. All of a sudden, in the moonlight, I can see a shadow of a face, maybe like 3 inches away from my tent, and it's looking in. Weird thing was, the face looked so long and misshapen. It slowly backed away, and I heard running from my tent. My heart is in my chin, and I'm surprised I didn't pass out. I'm just frozen, figuring out what to do. After an hour of complete silence, I took my tent apart, wrenching the stakes and poles and jamming it into my bag. I then grabbed my stuff and quietly snuck out of there. I then proceeded to hike 15 miles straight into the next day and evening, just to get the hell out of there. Needless to say, I've not been back there since, and I've only told a few people, as this incident still scares me to this day.